Opening slide graphic text title, Holding a Vision for Real Work and Real Pay, with Wendy McDonald. Image of Wendy McDonald, text. Purpose Matters Conference, logos, Belonging Matters, and Talks That Matter.net.
Good morning, everyone. Where I am, it's evening, and I feel like I'm doing a little bit of time travel because it's Monday, not Tuesday. It's really my pleasure to be here with you this morning to talk about a subject I'm pretty passionate about, both in my role as COO of Inclusion Alberta, but also, as Amelia said, I'm a mom of two boys, one of whom has a developmental disability. Inclusion Alberta is a family-based nonprofit federation that advocates on behalf of children and adults with developmental disabilities and their families. Together, we share a dream of meaningful community inclusion for individuals with developmental disabilities. As an advocacy organization, we support families and individuals in their desire to be fully included in community life. We were formed 65 years ago by a small group of parents who dreamed of a better life for their sons and daughters with a disability. And today, I'm very proud to say we are very much that same organization. We're a family-governed organization that supports the interests of individuals with developmental disabilities and their families. And as Amelia shared, I'm also a mom of two children, and I'll share a little bit more about that later. So I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Alberta is probably best known for the Rocky Mountains. Both Jasper and Banff National Parks are within our borders, and the famous Calgary Stampede. So I would encourage you to come and visit us anytime. As Amelia mentioned, I'm the mom of two boys, both of whom I'm incredibly proud of. My eldest son, Aaron, lives with his wife and two daughters in the Cayman Islands. And Kyle, our second son, is our son with a developmental disability. Kyle was born 14 weeks early at 26 weeks gestation. We were told that he had a 50% chance of survival, and if he did survive, honestly, the outcome predictions were pretty bleak. In fact, today I marvel at the fact that when he was less than 3 pounds and not having even left the hospital, people were predicting his future. All of the predictions, by the way, were of the things that Kyle would not do. He would not walk. He would not talk. I was even told he was uneducable. So certainly something like employment or dreaming about what that might look like for him felt like, a big stretch. But I will say to you that my hopes and dreams for both of my boys are exactly the same. I was incredibly fortunate to get connected to Inclusion Alberta when Kyle was in preschool. And I learned very early on the importance of an inclusive life. And as a result, and I'm not going to suggest that this has been without bumps, sorry, I pressed the button, not without bumps and without a lot of work and honestly, sometimes heartache, Kyle was fully included through kindergarten and grade 12. He attended inclusive post-secondary education at MacEwan University in Edmonton. And then following his university completion, he became employed full-time with WestJet, a Canadian airline, until COVID. During COVID, WestJet eliminated the position that Kyle held. There were 3,300 WestJet employees that lost their jobs permanently. But today he works for the contractor that WestJet put in place to do that very similar role. So he works for a company called Samsic Assistance at the Edmonton International Airport. I know for me that there have been times in Kyle's 27 years that I wish somebody could have just told me what the secret sauce was for him to have a good life, and I'd do it. I wanted the 10-step formula for keeping him safe, ensuring he had friends, being included in school, being included in community, having a job. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. There isn't a 10-step formula. But what I believe to be the best hope in achieving that good life, and today we're specifically focusing on employment, is to be clear about what the vision or the goal is, to know where you're going. You will go wherever the road takes you unless you're really clear about what the outcome is you want, or where you're going. I've learned that in order for Kyle to have meaningful paid employment, I had to be in control over the destination rather than just following the roads or the road that was put in front of him, which was often pretty limited in terms of scope and imagination. We, as either individuals with disabilities ourselves or our families or the people that work with this population, absolutely need to be clear and set the destination. It's like plugging the destination into your GPS. What are you interested in? That's your destination. That's where you're going. Having a vision to be, or a clear destination, is, in my view, absolutely essential in the hope of creating a great life for our sons and daughters. And as Deb, I think, said, creating an enviable life. There are millions of books and seminars and experts who talk about the importance of having a vision, the importance of laying out a path from here to where you want to be. And this is true for all of us, regardless of if one has a disability or not. But I personally believe it is absolutely critical if we want to ensure our family members, or if you work in the field, the people you work with, have a chance at a meaningful life. If we aren't clear about what we want, we settle. And to be clear, your family members or the individuals you support aren't going to have a chance at real work for real pay if you don't fundamentally believe it's possible. And there are many factors that would work against that possibility. So if you don't hold the belief, I think it's pretty impossible for it to happen without having that goal. Our work at Inclusion Alberta is focused around what we talk about, or we use the term normative pathway. So we often use this phrase to describe how we support individuals and families to think about the life of their loved one with a disability. Many of us will be very familiar with this idea because it's actually the pathway that most of our lives follow. For example, the normative pathway is growing up at home, being included in regular education classrooms and schools, having friends, being part of sports and clubs, whether it be music or dance or art, fostering a career identity and dreaming of your future as an adult. And career identity is really an interesting question, because I know that when people find out they're pregnant, they start thinking about what the career identity is for their son or daughter. Or, when you're little, what do you want to be when you grow up? We need to be asking those same questions for individuals with disabilities. So maybe it's going to college or university, or traveling after school completion, pursuing a career, falling in love, owning a business, having a home of your own, living with a roommate or a friend, hosting dinner parties. We all know what this pathway is because it's the one that those of us without disability live unequivocally. Beyond the many benefits that work provides to us, work is, as again Deb said in her opening comments, also culturally normative, celebrated, and it's in fact expected to be part of a typical life. The normal pathway, of course, accounts for all of our beautifully unique lives and specifics that everyone's path will differ. Following the normative path doesn't mean that you're following the exact same path as another person. You're following the scheme of the path to have access to good things in life. Those beautifully ordinary things. And we know that for people with disabilities, getting on this path and staying on this path actually requires concerted effort, not because their dreams and goals are any different, but because following this trajectory hasn't been the expected path for people with disabilities, culturally speaking. Following the normative pathway requires an effort to push back on what is traditionally expected for people with disabilities. We have worked with many families who have made this concerted effort to ensure that their sons and daughters are on the same pathway as the rest of us and having much more rich and meaningful lives as a result. It's not without challenges, it's not without hurt or heartache, of course, but that's life for all of us. And what hopefully outweighs the bumps that come along with that normative pathway are actually reaching the dreams and experiences the good things in life. Here's also what I know about the normative pathway in relation to employment. And again, Deb touched on this morning, but I can't in her introduction, but I can't kind of stress it enough. We live in cultures where we value those who work and we value less those who don't. When the first question that we are constantly asked when you meet someone for the first time is, what do you do? And one doesn't have an answer to that question, it creates a division. Our efforts in employment, as with everything else, is to follow the typical pathway, the pathway that those without disabilities follow. And we know that the most effective means of securing employment for individuals with disabilities is to follow the typical career development model. And unfortunately, at least here in Canada, most of the disability sector doesn't follow the typical model. In Canada today, we have close to an 80% unemployment rate for individuals with developmental or intellectual disabilities. And so one of the first pieces of the career development model for all of us, whether we have a disability or not, is starting with that vision about that work is not only possible, but honestly expected. So first and foremost in our work, we start with the belief that absolutely everyone can work. When that's the place you start from, then the job is figuring out what interests someone has, what their support needs are. But if we don't start from a place that absolutely fundamentally believes everyone can work, we are not going to be successful in achieving that goal. My experience is families sometimes get stuck on things like, what skills could my son or daughter bring to an organization? And I will tell you that if you talk to any employer, and we talk to businesses every day, that they will tell you they are most concerned in hiring somebody that is the right fit for their team versus the skills they have. Employers hire for fit and skills are secondary. Employers train skills all the time. That's normative. It's not different for our population. And the last bit I would add about the career development model is how people get jobs. Well, I can speak to North America, and my understanding is it's not any different in Australia. But the majority of jobs that people secure today are secured through who you know. Ask anyone how they got their first job, and overwhelmingly they will say through their parents or a family member or a friend or a neighbor. The same is true for individuals with developmental disabilities. In fact, it's even more so. Jobs are secured through relationship. So we encourage families to sit down with fellow family members, friends, neighbors, colleagues, teachers, coaches, both yours and your family member with a disability, and talk about what the vision is that the vision is paid employment, and then brainstorm, who do you know? I call it a treasure map. It's literally sitting down and identifying all the areas in which, our collective know people, and we literally start trying to recognize and understand and ask people to say, would you be interested in having a conversation about inclusive employment? And I'll share a little more of Kyle's story in a bit, but what I would say is, my learning and the learning that I've had from working with literally hundreds of families doing this, is there seems to be a hesitancy to ask people to do this. But our experience personally and with the families I work with is people are honored to be asked to help kind of solve this problem. And so I started with, the very first time we did this, we just thought, who in our life knows and loves Kyle? And that's who we would ask to help us think about how we could secure employment for him. For the last 20 years, just in my work with Inclusion Alberta, we have been working with Rotary clubs, Rotarians, and the broader business community, creating employment opportunities for individuals with developmental disabilities. That's networking. And part of the reason that this has been incredibly powerful is, at least here, the majority of individuals that we support have really small personal networks because they haven't been in the labor market and they haven't been maybe as embedded in community as one would hope. So we use those relationships, the business community, Rotarians and Rotary clubs, and use their network as a way to supplement the network that individual families or individuals with developmental disabilities have on their own. I'm really thrilled to tell you that today we have created over 720 jobs in Alberta. These are all real jobs for real pay. So just to maybe show you what this work looks like, I'm going to share a short video. So tell us, Davey, what is your job title?
Henry Data Technician.
So what Davey does here at Geologic is he registers raster logs.
I was excited when I was told there was a potential job. Before, I would stay home and that sucks.
So when Davey first came on board, one of the concerns that I did have going in was, how much additional time would have to be devoted to making sure he's doing okay. And those concerns honestly went away right away. There was tremendous support from Inclusion Alberta and the Rotary Employment Partnership. It was great, right from the get-go. He's been just like any other employee. Like, I haven't had to devote any more or less time than anyone else.
Inclusion Alberta and the Rotary Employment Partnership have been very helpful in providing support for our managers and also for Davey to make sure that it's been a good and effective partnership. And we find that people with developmental challenges like that are often more committed and more energized by the work.
My life is better because of working at Geologic. I can go out for drinks and a restaurant. Can pay my visa bills.
You approach it just like any other employment opportunity. You got to give somebody a chance and let them show you what they can do. I have a hard time imagining anyone to be disappointed by the results of it. We're all better off for knowing Davey and working with him.
I wouldn't have found this job if it wasn't for Inclusion Alberta and the Rotary Employment Partnership. To job seekers with a developmental disability, never give up hope.
I sit at the front desk, and I'm the first person that people see when they walk in, and I direct them to where they need to go. One of my main jobs is transcribing evaluations from various training we do.
Jill, our placement, started part-time, and she actually worked her way up the organization and became a full-time employee. And she got herself promoted to the front, to receptionist, where she is actually the face of Reach when people walk in.
People coming into the office love seeing her because she's always happy and cheerful and helpful.
I felt really proud of myself when I got promoted. My job's important because I get to be with these great people here, and I'm very happy. I get to live on my own. I get to have the joys of paying bills and being able to treat myself to something every once in a while.
You think about it, you hire employees all the time from all walks of life, and sometimes you have problems, and you're left on your own to deal with those. If you have any, and I mean any kinds of concerns with someone that you hire through the Rotary Employment Partnership, you will immediately get assistance on that. And I think that's the thing that's been the best about the partnership. It's just how much support we get, from Inclusion Alberta.
The Rotary Employment Partnership has helped us work through many aspects of Jill's employment.
The Rotary Employment Project did help me gain the confidence to look for a job that is in my skill set.
I know small businesses don't have time to just add somebody because it's a nice thing to do. And I can tell you that Jill more than pulls her weight around here. And I guarantee you, you will increase your bottom line. You will do so much better if you hire someone from Inclusion Alberta.
The message I would give to anybody considering the Rotary Employment Program is go for it. Seriously, it's been the best thing we could have done for Reach.
You will never regret this, and you will wonder why you didn't do it a long time ago.
Give these people like me a chance, and they may surprise you.
Right now, my title is a workplace assistant, but right now I am undergoing training as a CSR or a customer service representative.
He processes customer transactions, helps us greet customers, answer the phones, and he's learning how to do all of the transactions that a CSR would do.
When I first got this job, it brought an impact to me in the way that it definitely showed that I can seek greater heights. I can go further beyond expectations.
You know, I think when you are considering someone with a developmental disability, sustainability is the most important thing. So you can't just have a make-work project. They have to be able to do real work. What we find is that they can do quite a bit more than what we thought.
Since I've been here for the last 2 years, he's progressed from doing filing and kind of the odd jobs as part of the branch to identifying in himself his dream to be a customer service representative. And why not? Knowing I have the Rotary partnership there means a lot to me as a branch manager. There's lots of support and great communication for both sides to make sure that it's working for Brian and he's getting what he needs out of the experience or wants out of the experience, and it works well for ATB Financial as well.
Inclusion Alberta gave us the confidence to go ahead and try it, knowing that we had someone who was there to kind of help us through if there was rough patches. There was a day when Brian got his keys to the branch.
Actually, having the keys to the branch was like one of my best moments here. It showed that ATB's trust in myself and also that responsibility that they had. And I also look forward to what they're about to give me next.
Brian has made such a huge impact on our team and has really helped us even in our journeys as leaders, helping him along his development path as well.
It is really important to have the Rotary employment on my side.
I wouldn't hesitate to make that decision again, to have him join the team.
It helps our businesses in more ways we can imagine. It creates self-esteem for the organization, and there's some element that knits that whole team together.
We talk about service above self, and sometimes I see, us searching for a way to do that. And this is a way that you can fulfill your commitment and your own personal desire to change the world.
So it's really important when thinking about employment for this population that it not be described or sold in any way as charity. The business benefits of hiring individuals with disabilities is unequivocal. Anecdotally, employers tell us every day the difference that hiring somebody with a developmental disability has made to their business. So it's really critical when talking about employment for this population that it's framed as the business benefit. It's really impossible for me to stress the importance of having a vision that employment is expected. I would say that both segregation and inclusion are hard and that we have to choose our hard. For me, the benefits of fighting for an inclusive life for Kyle, having not only the vision, but the expectation that he should work, has been life-changing, not only for Kyle, but I would say for our entire family. So here's what I know for sure about how employment is achieved. If you don't start with the belief and hold the vision that meaningful employment is possible, it will never be achieved. Employment creates the opportunity for a purpose, a meaningful day, having money to spend, friendships and relationships, becoming culturally literate. The list is endless. And I would say our success in employment has started from the belief that we fundamentally believe and have proven, by the way, that anyone can work. and the power of accessing those personal and, professional relationships. I guess my final comments are, when the vision is clear, the strategy actually becomes easier. Thank you so much.
Closing slide graphic text, with thanks to Wendy McDonald, Crowd Comms, Purpose Matters Conference 2022. This video was made possible with the support of an information and capacity building grant through the Department of Social Services, produced by Belonging Matters. Belonging Matters makes every effort to provide accurate and up-to-date material. However, information is subject to change, and our materials for reference only. This video was filmed on the land of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung peoples of the Eastern Kulin Nation. Logos, Belonging Matters, talksthatmatter.net.
Graphic text. More Purpose Matters conference videos. To watch more videos from the Purpose Matters conference, please head to free videos on the Talks That Matter website, talksthatmatter.net. Logos, Belonging Matters, Talks That Matter.